Have you ever felt like a satellite, orbiting a family you're supposed to be deeply connected to? While most people feel an automatic gravitational pull toward their relatives, some of us feel nothing, a phenomenon often called a familial experience. This isn't coldness, it's a unique configuration of the human heart, and it's far more common than you think. Imagine a cozy bonfire, everyone drawn close by the warmth. That's the expected family bond. Now, picture Arrow, our main character, standing just outside the glow, feeling the heat but not the connection. This initial sense of distance isn't resentment, it's simply a lack of the automatic magnetic pull most people experience. For Arrow, family feels like a performance, a script they learned, but the lines never quite felt real. They find themselves asking, why does this fundamental belonging, the one everyone else takes for granted, feel so profoundly absent for me? This subtle, lifelong emotional gap is the core of the afamilial experience. The societal narrative insists that family is the ultimate anchor, the one bond that defines us. But what if that anchor's simply never deployed? Sociologists view family attachment as an evolved mechanism for safety and cooperation. For the afamilial, this evolutionary gravitas is missing. It's not necessarily trauma, but the absence of that foundational, unconditional feeling. Arrow participates out of duty, not an internal emotional drive, making holidays and milestones feel hollow, an obligation observed, not a connection celebrated. Attachment theory, pioneered by Bowlby, suggests that early interactions with primary caregivers build the blueprint for all future relationships. For Arrow, this architectural foundation may have been built on misattunement. This isn't always overt abuse. It can be years of needs being subtly missed, emotional language being consistently misunderstood, or affection being conditional. The result is a defensive wall erected around the heart. When early bids for connection are repeatedly met with confusion or cold logic, the child's mind learns a profound lesson. Safety is found in distance, not closeness. The concept of chronic misattunement is critical here. It's the constant, low-level static in the communication channel. Arrow's joy was met with a practical lecture. Their sadness was met with a quick fix instead of validation. Over time, the internal emotional world becomes disconnected from the external family world. Arrow stops broadcasting their feelings and, critically, stops expecting connection from that source. The emotional needs don't vanish. They are simply rerouted, leading to a profound self-reliance that bypasses the family unit entirely. Many afamilial individuals maintain contact not through desire, but through a deeply ingrained sense of social duty. This relationship is transactional. Calls are answered, birthdays are acknowledged, but the core self remains protected, sequestered. This is often misinterpreted by the family as coldness or ingratitude. For Arrow, upholding this duty is exhausting. They are performing the role of a loving relative without the corresponding inner emotion, leading to emotional fatigue, a heavy tax paid for social acceptability. One of the most potent arguments against the cold myth is the capacity of afamilial people to forge deep, vibrant connections outside the family unit, the chosen family paradox. Arrow often finds effortless, authentic intimacy with friends, mentors, or partners. This proves that the capacity for love and attachment is intact. It is merely the specific, genetically linked context that lacks the pull. When belonging is earned, based on shared values and mutual validation, the defensive detachment dissolves, allowing genuine warmth to flow. This connection is safer because it is chosen. The term afamilial is not a clinical diagnosis. It's a social descriptor primarily used in community spaces, often by those on the asexual and aromantic spectrums, to articulate a specific relational reality. Clinically, the concept intersects with defensive detachment, a protective mechanism, and, in rare cases, personality traits like low affective empathy. Crucially, the absence of attachment to one's family does not equate to low empathy for humanity. It is a targeted emotional firewall, not a global emotional deficit. While early environment is key, we must consider the roles of genetics and inherent personality. Some individuals are simply wired for lower need for affiliation, or possess an internal landscape that prioritizes autonomy over emotional merging. Furthermore, cultural context matters. In highly collectivist cultures, an affamilial disposition can lead to intense pressure and ostracization. In more individualistic settings, it is often tolerated as eccentricity. For Arrow, their innate disposition may have simply been poorly matched with their family's emotional structure, widening the gulf regardless of intent. Perhaps the heaviest emotional burden for the familial individual is the guilt trap. Society bombards us with the message, "You must love your family and you'll regret it when they're gone." This manufactured guilt is not a moral compass, it is social conditioning. Arrow feels guilty for feeling relieved after a visit or for not missing them during long absences. The philosopher Alain de Botton noted that much of modern anxiety stems from holding incompatible values. For Arrow, the clash between social expectation and emotional reality is the source of deep, unnecessary distress. We must redefine what care looks like. Love is not synonymous with automatic closeness. For Arrow, freedom becomes a necessary prerequisite for genuine connection. By choosing distance, they are practicing self-respect and boundary maintenance. This distance is not a rejection of the person, but a necessary protection from the pattern of interaction. Healing, in this context, doesn't mean forcing a return to the family hearth. It means acknowledging that building a life where one feels authentic and safe is, in itself, an act of profound self-love. Modern society suffers from the romanticization of kinship, the idea that blood ties inherently grant virtue, forgiveness, and unconditional acceptance. This myth ignores the reality that many families are sites of pain, miscommunication, and stagnation. Familial individuals intuitively reject this myth. They understand that safety and love must be earned, regardless of shared genetics. Their experience is a philosophical argument against essentialism, insisting that relationships should be judged by their quality of interaction, not their biological category. For years, Arrow lived in a state of cognitive dissonance, trying to reconcile the expected feeling of familial love with the actual absence of that feeling. This internal war is draining. To achieve consistency and peace, Arrow must fully integrate the familial identity. This involves realizing that the distance is a functional reality, not a moral failing. Embracing this identity is a vital step toward self-actualization, allowing Arrow to align their external actions with their internal emotional truth, finally escaping the emotional exhaustion of constant psychological maneuvering. The most subtle relief in being familial is the freedom of non-expectation. By abandoning the hope of ever achieving that automatic closeness, Arrow is freed from constant disappointment. Attachment, unlike love, is about expectation. When you remove the expectation that a biological link must provide emotional sustenance, you can finally appreciate the connection for exactly what it is, or isn't, without grading it against an impossible standard. This allows Arrow to invest their emotional capital in relationships that genuinely nourish them. The dichotomy between chosen and biological family is a false one if viewed only through the lens of quality. Chosen family is not merely a substitute, it is often the primary source of secure attachment for the familial person. Research on resilience confirms that social support networks, regardless of origin, are the key protective factor against distress. For Arrow, the bonds they chose are not less than, they are better. They are the relationships where validation is guaranteed, where the emotional language is shared, and where the connection is reciprocal and mutually life-affirming. Ultimately, the familial experience forces a beautiful, revolutionary redefinition of belonging. It is a refusal to accept an arbitrary designation of intimacy and an insistence that the human spirit has the right to determine its own emotional geography. Arrow's story is a validation that you are not broken. Your heart simply seeks safety and authenticity in its connections. You can be whole, loving, and deeply connected while still standing outside the traditional family circle. Your family is the one that feels like home, regardless of how you arrived there.